Hey everybody, it's Ron, and I want to tell you a story about business and how that story changed everything. The office is large. It's the kind of large that only comes from being the most successful thing in your industry for a better part of a decade. There's memorabilia on the wall and light through the window and a general feeling that things here are operating exactly as they should. But you're not seeing reality. You're actually inside a cartoon office, drawn with all the colors and lines you're probably envisioning right now as you listen to this. Donald Duck has just finished saying his piece. He's been worked up the way Donald always gets worked up, and he's made his case. There's a new rabbit over at Warner Brothers, and it's drawing crowds, and someone ought to be paying attention. Mickey Mouse leans back in his chair and in that unmistakable high, cheerful voice says something like this. "Aw, Donald, we've seen him come and we've seen him go. I wouldn't worry about it." The door opens. Minnie needs money for a new outfit. Mickey reaches for his wallet without missing a beat and then turns to take a call about where he needs to be this afternoon. A premiere, a park appearance, something that requires his immediate attention. He wraps up with Donald warmly, already on his way out. "Try to relax, pal." The rabbit Mickey wasn't worried about was named Bugs Bunny. And within a few years, he would be the most recognizable cartoon character in America, and the only one in history to rival Mickey Mouse for the title of the most popular cartoon character of all time. So how does a scrappy animation unit working out of a bug-infested bungalow on the Warner Brothers lot take on the most dominant entertainment brand in the world? How does a character whose own name was the result of a labeling accident end up with a Hollywood Walk of Fame star and his face on a United States postage stamp? And how did all of that begin on July 27th, 1940? When a 7-minute cartoon called A Wild Hare hit theater screens. A rabbit turned to a hunter, pointing a gun at him and asked, "Hey, what's up, Doc?" And audiences reportedly brought the house down. From Business Basics, I'm Ron Trucks, and this is Business History, the daily podcast where we explain the stories that changed business forever. Every date on the calendar has a story where business reshaped the world. Today, July 27th, that story takes us to 1940. What's up, Doc? The Looney Tunes series existed in the first place because of Mickey Mouse. When Leon Schlesinger contracted with Warner Brothers in 1930 to produce animated shorts, the explicit goal was to capitalize on what Walt Disney had built with synchronized sound and a beloved rodent. Warner Brothers wanted what Disney had, and the fastest path seemed to be imitation. What emerged over the next decade at Schlesinger's animation unit was something else entirely, partly by accident and partly by design. The animators worked out of a cramped 5-room bungalow on the Warner Brothers lot that the staff nicknamed Termite Terrace, a reference to both the insect population in the walls and the general shabbiness of the space. Disney had pristine facilities and careful supervision. Termite Terrace had talent, low budgets, and directors who competed fiercely to get the biggest audience reaction. The Depression-era audience that Tex Avery and his animation colleagues were making films for wanted something Disney wasn't offering. Mickey was cheerful, agreeable, and aspirational, the kind of character you rooted for because he was trying his best. Avery and the Termite Terrace crew were building something different, cool, unimpressed, always the smartest one in the room, never rattled by the authority figure pointing a gun at him. That gap between what Disney offered and what a significant part of the audience actually wanted was a business opportunity, whether or not anyone at Warner Brothers would have described it that way. A note before we go further. If you've watched these cartoons, you know they contain the kind of casual gun violence and general mayhem that would never survive a modern content review. And some of the wartime shorts have been pulled from circulation for reasons that go way beyond slapstick. I grew up watching Bugs on Saturday mornings, and I turned out okay. But it's a different era of content, and worth naming honestly. The character who would eventually be named Bugs Bunny appeared in prototype form as early as 1938 in a short called Porky's Hare Hunt. Animator Ben Hardaway, who went by the nickname Bugs, sketched a rabbit character for the production, and a fellow animator labeled the model sheet Bugs's Bunny to indicate whose design it was. Someone in the production system read the label as the character's name, and it stuck, over the objections of Tex Avery, who wanted to call him Jack E. Rabbit, and argued with considerable irony, given what happened next, that Bugs Bunny sounds like a Disney character. The definitive version arrived on July 27, 1940, when A Wild Hare hit theater screens. Avery had redesigned Bugs through animator Bob Givens, streamlining the character into the tall, relaxed wise guy audiences would recognize for the next 85 years. Voice artist Mel Blanc gave him a combination of Bronx and Brooklyn street energy, and Avery added a line of dialogue borrowed from a Texas expression he had used his whole life. One he considered so unremarkable that he gave it almost no thought. What's up, Doc? The phrase brought theaters to a standstill. Audiences were not accustomed to a cartoon character responding to a loaded gun with casual indifference, and the contrast between Elmer Fudd's armed menace and Bugs's breezy nonchalance hit something in the room that pure slapstick never had. Within the year, Warner Brothers had elevated Bugs to its star attraction. By the mid-1940s, he was appearing in wartime propaganda shorts alongside Adolf Hitler and Hermann Göring, deployed by the U.S. military as a morale weapon. The Depression-era anti-hero had become a wartime one, and Warner Brothers had become the most profitable cartoon studio in the United States. Encyclopedia Britannica's framing is about as clean as it gets. Only Walt Disney's Mickey Mouse rivals Bugs Bunny as the most popular cartoon character of all time. TV Guide ranked him number 1 on its list of the 50 greatest cartoon characters. He has a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, appeared in Space Jam alongside Michael Jordan in 1996, and became the first animated character to appear on a United States postage stamp. The mechanism that produced all of that was deliberate differentiation, not trying to be Mickey, but identifying the gap between what Mickey offered and what a significant slice of the audience actually wanted, and then filling that gap with something sharply defined. Bugs was not better animated than Mickey. He was not more wholesome. He was different in a way that mattered, and he found an audience that Disney wasn't fully serving. What that differentiation built, though, looks different from what Disney built, and the difference is worth landing clearly. Bugs dominated Saturday morning television for nearly 4 decades because he came to you every week on the networks for free. Mickey required a destination, a theater, a park, an experience built around his name. Disneyland opened in Anaheim, California in 1955. Walt Disney World opened in Orlando, Florida in 1971. There is no Bugs Bunny Land, and there never will be. Looney Tunes characters appear at Six Flags parks, but as tenants, not as the reason the park exists. Both strategies worked. They built different kinds of value in different ways. Reach versus destination. Free and everywhere versus expensive and somewhere specific. The rabbit Mickey wasn't worried about turned out to be the one business rival he never fully solved. I'm Ron Trucks, and this is Business History, the podcast that finds the turning points behind the headlines. To hear more stories like this, follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you listen. And if you're enjoying the stories, don't forget to subscribe and leave a quick review. It helps more people find the story behind the business. And if you want to actually understand business better without the fluff or the buzzwords or the MBA language, start by visiting us at businessdailypodcast.com.